What's going on, you guys? Paul here, coming at you guys with another video. And as you can see behind me, I'm working on my old house today. Anyway, in this one, I'm going to teach you guys pretty much the simplest and easiest way to go about removing old paint that I've discovered so far. So basically what I'm doing is I'm stripping all of the old paint down and trying to get it down to the bare wood. And as you can see, I've gotten a pretty good portion of it already done. I just started working on the actual door portion of itself. So I figured I'd fire up the camera and just show you guys probably the easiest way to go about removing layers and layers of old paint that I've been able to discover in the 12 years I've been working on this house and doing this type of stuff. So let me show you guys what's up. All right, guys, so here's the entranceway to my home that I've been working on. I've been going about stripping all of the old paint off it. And why I'm stripping all the paint to the old wood is because, as you can see here on this door, I've got a really bad case of what they call alligatoring. Basically, this old paint is 70 years old and it is just beyond its life expectancy, and it is just shrinking and cracking and falling away. And there's really no good way to get rid of this. You can't just paint over that, because if you just painted over that, this would just continually shrink and start to crack away, and basically your new paint would just start flaking and peeling off. And it doesn't matter how good you fill in all these cracks. Like I said, that is just going to continually do that underneath your new paint, and you're just going to end up redoing that down the road. But anyway, I'll show you guys what I'm doing here. All right, you guys, so as far as the tools and materials we're going to need to do this, you're going to go ahead and get yourself just a propane bottle. And I found this setup here, this little hose and wand attachment at Harbor Freight. I believe it was like 30 bucks, and it comes with an assortment of different tips. I like using this nice wide fan tip. It just makes the whole process a lot easier. You're going to need a couple of scrapers, a wide one and a thin one. I prefer using the stiff ones. I've noticed that when you use like the thin ones, you can risk gouging the wood if you're not super careful. So the stiffer, you know, a little easier to work with. So you just got to be careful while you're doing this, and obviously some way to light your torch up. And basically how I'm going about this, you know, not to dance around words or anything, but I'm literally burning the paint off of this house. Like I said, I know it sounds dangerous, and it is dangerous, which is, like I said, why you want to be really careful, and you always want to protect your lungs while you're doing this. But anyway, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and fire up the tripod here and show you guys just exactly how I'm going about removing this paint. So before we get started, you guys, I just want to give you guys a quick disclaimer. This is dangerous. You know, you should definitely wear a respirator while you're doing this. Sanding old paint, you don't know what you're getting into. It could be old lead paint. Either way, any kind of dust and stuff in your lungs is no bueno. So always wear some kind of protective respirator. And you should always keep a bucket or a fire extinguisher nearby, because you never know. Safety first. All right, guys, here we go. I like how it's adjustable. You can actually control how much fire or how little fire you want. Why you want to be careful, you guys, because like I said, you are literally playing with fire here, and you definitely don't want to breathe any of that stuff in, which is why you really want to wear a respirator. And I usually am wearing a respirator, but for video filming purposes I am not, because with a respirator on I would sound like Darth Vader. As you can see, just after only a couple of minutes, we got this whole section down to the bare wood. All you've got to do now is just hit it with a quick block sand and then a coat of primer. Alright, so at this point you guys can pretty much see we've got the bottom half of the door pretty well stripped in this main area here. I still got pretty much the whole rest of the door to do, but I just want to do this for a quick demonstration purpose. But as you can see now, all you have to do is just hit it with a block sander and you'll be ready for priming. And when it comes to these detailed areas, you really want to take your time and you really want to be careful because, like I said, you might not always be able to get all the paint out of there. You're still going to have to probably come in here and sand a little bit, but regardless, you know, it's just going to make stripping the paint off that much easier. As you can see, I got pretty much the rest of the door to do. So I'm going to go ahead and knock this out, try to do the best I can. And I'll show you guys what it looks like when I'm done. All right, guys, so at this point, we've got the door maybe 90% done. The only thing I'm working on now is those detailed areas right around the borders there. I got to do up top there. But I just want to show you guys that if you are careful and you do take your time, that you can get into the detailed areas. You just got to, like I said, be extra careful. Turn the heat down nice and low. And like I said, don't get too crazy with the scraper because that's when you can gouge the wood. And you always want to keep the heat source moving because you don't want to concentrate on one particular spot too long because then you will start like actually burning the wood. You can see the dark spots on the door. That'll sand off, but once you get into those like tight areas, that's when you can really start scorching the wood. So like I said, you really want to be careful in those areas, but it can be done. This is about, I don't even know, maybe about 45 minutes, you know? So like I said, I just wanted to show you guys this different way to do something, you know? All right, so worst case scenario, you do have to come in here and sand a little bit. But even still, sanding just this little bit of residue that's left behind is a whole lot easier to get rid of than that chunks and 1/8" layer of old paint that was on it. So I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. So I'm just gonna continue onward and continue to strip this door, and I'll check in when it's all done. All right guys, so as you can see now, I got this door pretty much stripped and ready for primer, and it took me I'd say about an hour and a half total from beginning to end. And the part that took the most was all the little detailed areas. As you can see, getting down into some of those tighter areas, you know, it takes a little bit of time, and you want to be careful. And for the most part, you know, I can't foresee any faster or easier way to strip all the paint off of this door rather than buying a whole bunch of like nasty chemicals and stuff like that and just stripping it and scraping away at it, or just sanding it. And you know, the thing I like about doing this, as you can see behind me, you know, the cleanup really isn't going to be too bad versus when you do one of those big scraper deals when you're just scraping away at it. You know, paint chips are just going to be flinging and flying every which way. So doing it this way, just controlled scraping it, you know, pretty much all the scrapings just kind of fall where they lay. But anyway, you guys, like I said, you know, I haven't been doing a lot of car stuff lately. I've been doing a lot of house stuff lately. So, you know, some of you guys might be interested in learning how to do some of this stuff, but there's thousands of videos on pretty much exactly what I'm doing. Although I haven't really seen too many videos about this particular method of removing paint. So like I said, I just wanted to share this with you guys. Hopefully it helps some of you guys. And like I said, you want to wear a respirator while you're doing this. You want to do this outdoors, somewhere in a well-ventilated area. And like I said, you just want to be careful. But anyway, you guys, after a little bit more detail sanding, this thing will be ready to prime and paint. And when it's done, this whole entire entranceway, as long as I keep going and just, you know, keep nitpicking like I have been doing, this whole entire entranceway is going to look brand new when it's done, and I can't wait to see it. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for this one. If you like this video, feel free to hit the like button. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps out. I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys got any questions or comments, feel free to shoot them in the comment section. I'll be sure to answer them the best I can. But in the meantime, this is Sitting Low signing out. I'll see you in the next one.